All right, guys, I'm going to get you all to start by introducing yourselves. So if you could give us your name, talk me through what you're studying, what you studied, and where you studied as well.
Hello, my name is Bailey Eels. I am a graduate of Bond's film and television program. So I now currently have my bachelor's in film and TV.
Great.
Hi, I'm Brittany Bell, and I am a graduate from New York Film Academy, Australia, Diploma of Screen and Media, specialising in acting for film.
Hi, Nathan Bruin, studying sound design at TAFE.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. Brittany, I'm going to start with you. You recently attended the Gold Coast Film Festival red carpet as not just one, but two feature films you starred in were premiered at the event. Can you talk me through those films and how you scored those roles? How amazing.
Yeah, it was intense. It was so much fun. Like, getting to do a feature film straight out of acting school was, as a lead role, was my first one. I was like, what am I doing? But no, it was amazing. And I got those opportunities because while I was at NIFA, I didn't realise this, but I was being watched by one of the filmmakers and who was also teaching there a little bit. And he messaged me privately afterwards and said, I'd like to invite you to an invitational audition. And so I got the role through that. And then while I was filming on that, the assistant director, Steve Osborne, he noticed me as well. And then when he did his feature film, he invited me for didn't even have an audition. He said, you got the role. So networking, massive networking, and all through being at NIFA with the NIFA students.
Can you tell us a little bit about each of those films?
Yeah, sure. So House of Inequity is a horror feature film, and we had an amazing, I'm going to get this wrong, special effects team, but what is it when they're not visual, they're there? Practical effects.
Practical
yes,
effects, yeah.
Called Stingray Sushi Studios, and they did all of the horror, all the blood, all the gore. It was such an intense experience. We made the set ourselves, and about 2 and a bit months of filming on low budget, and yeah, it's now going to go through the film distribution circuit.
And what about the other film?
And Strangeville, which Steve will be up talking after this about. It's very exciting. It's a sci-fi family sort of comedy. I had a waitress role in that one, and it's a bunch of misfits who pretty much come together and go alien hunting. And we filmed that out at Stanthorpe, so you got to see a beautiful part of Queensland.
Awesome. So you studied at the New York Film Academy Australia, which is the only film school in the Southern Hemisphere that has a production facility at the backlot of a professional film studio. So can you talk us through what it was like studying on that backlot? I believe it's at Village Roadshow Studios.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool because you go in and we have a little our own little studio there, and when you walk in, you're just surrounded by those big massive sound stages, and you know what's going on in them, and it's really exciting sometimes because when you're studying there, you also have the big productions happening at the same time. And there's been instances where, you know, the crew or whatever are at the cafe, and so are the students, and they're like, we need some extras, like bring them in. And yeah, so we have that sort of connection availability there. And it's just being around it, it gets you familiar and comfortable in that massive scale. So then when you're applying for those roles, film, acting, whatever it is, you already have that familiarity. So yeah, it's not as daunting.
Have you seen anyone that we'd know on those backlots?
That you can talk about without being under an NDA?
I'm trying to think back. When I personally studied there, I don't think one of the big films was happening at that point.
Yeah.
But I think Pirates was a big one when a lot of the students did go through. Yeah.
Now, many aspiring actors want to know how to get into acting. So how did your studies at NIFA sort of set you up for your career?
Honestly, the biggest thing out of NIFA that I got was my networking, because there's filmmakers there as well studying. They need people for their short films. They need people for their productions. Then they graduate and they've got you in mind because you've done work with them. So then they get you onto their things. And not only that, you're building networks with the lecturers who are active in the industry as well. So they give you all the advice, but you've got connections with them too. And then you get obviously all the skills from being in front of the camera, you get your showreel footage. So everything you do at NIFA gets you so prepared just to propel into the industry. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be where I am without going there and doing that.
You were on a panel earlier and we were talking about the film industry on the Gold Coast at the moment and how it's just absolutely booming. But you were saying that the great thing about NIFA is that the acting course is 8 months. So if a student is starting sort of this year, they can still make the most of that boom.
Definitely. So when I did it was 8 months. I think it's like 8 months to a year at the moment. But definitely, because you smash that out, like how fast does a year go, you know? And then the industry is just getting bigger and bigger. We're seeing so many things coming to Queensland especially. So by the time a year's up, you're in it, you know?
Great. Nathan, I'm going to move on to you. I believe you had some experience with my radio station, actually, Hot Tomato. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience that you had?
Yeah, so Christo from the breakfast team had an on-air beef with Casey Barnes and told him that he could write us a country song within 3 minutes. And Casey said, well, put your money where your mouth is and write a country song. So that 3 minutes turned into about 3 weeks. Christo came in with a song, very nervous, never been in a studio before, but he'd done some songwriting in his earlier years and some production in his earlier years. So he brought in a basic template of the song that he had mapped out. And it was very much not a country song when we started with it. So it was more like a contemporary 80s Depeche Mode kind of thing. Did you hear it?
Very Christo.
Yeah. It was great. It was amazing. But it wasn't country. So our lecturer who does the studio sound was the guy who did the production in it. And just seeing him work from that industry point of view, like... not only have you got industry coming in and using the facilities at TAFE, but you've also yet to see that in action where Ben took on the producer role and helped Christo feel very at home and very comfortable so he could get the best performance out of him. And then to see them moulding the song around that to turn it into a country song by adding banjo and even the way... Like, it wasn't just Ben working with Christo, it was Ben working with the class working with Christo. So the whole class got to be involved in the production and throw ideas around. And it was just incredible to be a part of that, a part of industry and TAFE at the same time, yeah.
Cool. It's great to see how TAFE Queensland students do have this really great access to industry. How else, can you talk us through some of the other hands-on experience you've had?
Yeah, well, it's not just hands-on experience. Like the whole thing is hands-on. So we don't just sit in a classroom and learn all the theory. It's we'll do a bit of theory in the morning and then it's straight down to the studio and let's record some songs. Let's muck around and get our hands on stuff and figure out how it all works. And we'll set up a whole bunch of microphones and hear the different sounds so we know what mic sounds like what. So it's just constantly hands-on. There's a live sound class on Thursdays, which all we do is set up PAs, do live sound, muck around with things, try and push everything to the limits and try and break things and then work within those. Like, it's all experimentation and learning. It's absolutely incredible. And the guys that are showing us, all the teachers, actually work in the industry. So on the weekends they're out touring. They're doing sound for the big festivals and producing albums for some of the biggest artists in the country, so they really know what they're talking about. So, yeah. You
must have some pretty incredible facilities then at TAFE that you have access to.
They are absolutely... I can't speak highly of them enough. I had a bit of experience with music before I started. So when I walked into the studios for the first time and seeing Avalon preamps and Joe Meek preamps and... $3,500, $4,000 microphones that we can just go and borrow from the library. There's Fender guitars you can just go and borrow from the library and try them out. There's amps everywhere. They're just world-class facilities, which is probably why I would say Christo wanted to come in and use them, because the result that you get is just amazing there, yeah.
Wow. Bailey, I'm going to move on to you. You studied at Bond and now you're working in the industry. So can you talk us through what you've been doing since graduation?
Yes, well, I graduated in March of 2020, which means I was going out at the perfect time to be graduating into a very close quarters industry. But it's one of those things where I left uni and there wasn't a lot of work for a while, and so I used that time to upskill myself in a lot of different other areas. And then Young Rock came calling at the end of last year. And so I joined them in their COVID response team, which I thought was very ironic. But yeah, so I've worked with them now. And, NBC Universal, who do Young Rock, are also planning to do Joe Exotic and a few other different shows all around the coast and Australia in the next few years. So hopefully get something more with them. But, kind of building on everything that's been talked about here, networking. That's really, if you're in a creative industry, networking is what you spend 90% of your time doing, and it's where your focus should be, because at Bond, all I did was network. I was just constantly walking around the labs. Oh, what are you doing? And one of my friends, I just walked up to him one day and asked him what he was doing, and he showed me this amazing ad that he was wanting to make, a commercial. Worked with him on that. He's now over in America with Lost York, the advertising company, and he's working out over there making, Motorola ads and Kia ads and all of these amazing advertisements over there. And then, there was another guy who I worked with who he's a location manager for a lot of these big productions that come through. So he'll, throw me a few days of work here and there if I need it or if he needs the help. Even my lecturers, I've gotten 3 emails just this year from my lecturers being like, this production company needs someone and I thought of you. So they put my name forward for something, or they reach out to me and say, hey, I saw this and I thought of you. Here's this link to this. SBS has an incubator program going for emerging writers. That got sent to me through one of my lecturers. And so, that's what it's all about. And I think that's the great thing about the Bond experience is that, you have very small class sizes. You have a very personalized experience. So when things come across your lecturers' desks, they are more likely to think of you because they don't have to think of, 100 people. They have to think of 20 who are in a particular class, and they go, oh yeah, Bailey was interested in that. I'll flick him an email. So.
Was there anything you did whilst you were studying to prepare you for your career other than the networking?
Internships. I did an internship at a production company down in Byron Bay called Bronte Pictures, who did a film called Escape and Evasion, which is now on Netflix. I worked with them on a film called Streamline, which hopefully will come out sometime this year. It's a swimming film. They want to coincide it with the Olympics. So that'll be really cool to finally see that. I also worked at the Screen Queensland studios up in Hemmant, which is where a lot of these big productions are now going, now that Village Roadshow, Baz Luhrmann's been there for however many months now, and then they're rolling into new productions up there. So, yeah, it's all about, I just turned a question about what else other than networking into more networking. But I think that's just because, as I said before, it's all about networking. And yes, it's about upskilling yourself. But, what gets you in the door is not always what you know. It's who you know. And then what keeps you in the door is what you know.
So we have a lot of students and people that may be thinking of a career change in the room. And I'd like to know sort of what you guys were thinking before you chose to study. Did you know that was what you wanted to do? Did you fall into it? Can you give me a bit of that backstory?
I really didn't want to work a 9-to-5 office job. I'm full hyperactive ADD. I can't cope in that kind of environment. And so that was kind of off the table immediately, and that took out a lot of kind of suggestions for me. And really it just came down to, really falling in love with the art of filmmaking and creating in that way. And, the skill sets that I've used there are pretty transferable. I'm working on a novel at the moment that, who knows, maybe one day someone else other than me will read. But, just the fact that I learnt skills at Bond that not just allow me to work in the film industry, but also work on things in other creative industries. Because there is so many transferable skill sets, I think is the really beneficial thing about studying in the creative industries.
Brittany?
Well, I knew since about year 3 that I wanted to be an actress, but kind of fell into the trap of, what's that word? What's that thing where you try to please everybody? I don't know what
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like I had
Trying
a lot
to make the parents proud of your life decisions.
No, my parents were always really supportive, but I just felt this like social society pressure of like, oh, okay, I have to go do a corporate job. So I tried that and, got out of school and I was doing the payroll thing and I was weird. I was like, there's such a weirdo there and did not fit in at all. And I was like, no, I've got to do acting. And it wasn't until I was 26 that I actually went and studied it properly. And best decision I ever made. I always say, I wish I did it earlier, but I don't actually. I think I had to go through all those experiences to get to the point of, nah, this is it. And now it's full ball from here. Like, it's never going to change. And I think, so I knew deep down, but I think for those who do have a bit of an inkling and if you know that this is what you want to do, I don't know, just don't ignore it. Like, give it a chance because your soul knows what it wants.
Yeah, I waited way too long. So I always wanted to do what I'm doing now, the sound design and sound production. And I'm working on the weekends at the moment, playing in bands and doing sound for different things. But it's always been learning from experience and trying to figure it out on my own and work things out. And it wasn't until I started studying at TAFE that being shown back to the foundations of things. And it's now I'm sort of realising, that's why I do that and understanding things from a different perspective. And then more opportunities are being thrown out of that. So I'll go and a couple of weeks ago I went and did sound for a gig and I was thrown in front of an analog desk that I've never really used before, but because I've used it at TAFE, it was easy to just jump in and see my way around it. So, but yes, like I said, I waited a long time and went and got a job and went and did the corporate thing, and then the opportunity came up this year to do it, and I thought I'm just going to do it and upskill, and you can't ignore it. That's right, and it's been one of the best things I've ever done. And the experiences that come out of it, like that song we did for Christo got to number 2 on the Australian country charts. Like it was that good, and we did it in a day that it got to number 2. We did a session the other day with a band who were just incredible musos. They were the performance students, and we recorded a track of theirs. And then just talking afterwards, I learned that I think it was the bass player that is actually playing in Amy Shark's band, and he got that opportunity because one of his teachers is Amy Shark's live sound engineer, I believe, and saw him play and said, do you want the gig? So, there's just opportunities just come out of everywhere. I've met so many cool guys already that just talented musicians and different opportunities. So, yeah, just do it.
What made you choose the institutions that you did to study at?
I chose Bond because my school, I went to AP Patterson College, and our school had a very strong partnership program with Bond. And so I went to Bond when I was in year 10 for a workshop and really enjoyed the kind of the campus experience, as it were. And then over the next kind of few years, as I was working towards finishing year 12, I ended up doing the student for a semester program, which is where, as a high school student, I went into a university class with other university students and did I basically finished 2 of my subjects before I even started my degree. And so that was really great. Again, networking. I made so many friends in those 2 classes that I still have to this day, and that I still, work with or rely on to hear news about what's going on in the industry. But I went to all the other schools and had amazing experiences with all of them. But Bond was always kind of the first one that I came back to because it was the one that I had the most kind of comfort with, and the one I'd spent the most time with, and so it just made the most sense to me.
Well, I just was living on Hamilton Island and working there a bit as well. I sounded like a flex, and I was like, I was just living.
It certainly was. I'm jealous.
No. But then I moved back to the Gold Coast, and I was like, I want to do acting, and then saw that New York Film Academy was a place, and when I looked more into it and saw that they were so hands-on, and that your head's not in a textbook the whole time, and then it was really affordable as well, and also that the classes are intimate and it's very personalised, like all of that just ticked all the boxes. And then when I walked in the door on the first day, I was like, yeah, I made the right choice. Like, it was for me for sure.
To start with, it was location. It's literally, I could almost walk there from my place. Coomera TAFE is 15 minutes from my place, which is great. But once I started looking into the facilities and seeing how much time and effort has gone into the design of the facilities, I didn't even know the gear that I was walking into that I was going to see until the first day I walked in there. But it was, you could see on the website that they put a lot of time into their studios and the sound design on the walls and everything like this. It's just so pro that's what made me go there. And then I'm just walking in the first day in the library, and they had the catalogue of all the guitars that you could get out, Fenders and PRS and all the microphones. I said, can I, is this to borrow? Yeah, you can take it, borrow it, take it downstairs, put it in the studio, just try out whatever you want. And so it's been mind-blowing, yeah.
What's something that people considering entering into a creative industries degree can do now to prepare them for the industry?
One of you guys.
Like any
Any age. What can people do now to sort of prepare them if they're thinking about studying or wanting to enter the industry?
I just start.
Yeah, also just do it.
Just do it.
Honestly, you can't you just have to go and do it. Honestly, the more you think about it and sort of question, oh, should I, shouldn't I? And then all of a sudden, oh, this business thing's coming. Oh, no. The more if you know, just go for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in our class who, like the skill levels are all different. Some of them are amazing DJs. Some of them have never done anything before in their life, and they look at a desk and go, I got no idea what I'm doing. And then there's guys who are on the weekends doing it. So however far you want to go, the teachers at TAFE, at Coomera, have found they'll take you. So if you want to put in the extra effort, you want to stay behind for an extra hour, they'll stay there with you, and they're more than happy to just rant and talk music, talk shop with you. Like it's amazing, and they'll take you as far as you want to go. So, I mean, if you can't, I don't know what the enrolment details are, but if you can't enroll now, start working towards it. But just start learning on your own, watch YouTube videos, whatever. But you don't have to know anything. Just walk straight in and give it a crack.
I'm going to use a visual aid for my answer. This is the greatest gift that anyone has ever given to a filmmaker. I have friends who have made entire feature films on their phones. Wow. They're not films that look awful. They're films that look amazing because you can do that on this. This has image stabilization. Mine has 3 different lenses. You can get additional lenses for it that you can just pop on and go. And, you know, it's never been easier to just start making content, you know. My 12-year-old brother doesn't stop talking about how he wants to create a YouTube channel. And he can do it because it's not, you know, he doesn't need to go out and get a $5,000 camera. He just needs to steal my phone for 5 minutes and he can do it, you know. So the equipment is there, and, you know, and as you were saying, Nathan, you know, YouTube. You can go on YouTube and there are amazing creators. Pete McKinnon is the first one who comes to mind. He's a photographer and filmmaker who does these amazing tutorials on how to make your stuff look even better and even more cinematic. And just go from there. Just start creating, because that's really the easiest way to go about it.
And that's where the world is going to, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter what business you're going into, there's going to be content creation or some sort of creativity that's going to be around it. So to have even a basic knowledge of that is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you each feel about your industry here on the Gold Coast. What is the scene like for film, for acting, for music?
I mean, it's booming now. Yeah, it's getting way busier now. And the indie industry especially, it feels like it's underground. Like, it feels like, you know, there's a lot of, once you're in it, like, it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of opportunities. There is. If you're looking for them, you've got platforms like Star Now and you know, and then the networking like we keep talking about, which we go on about, but it's so true. It's everything. So obviously all my networking from NIFA and that, like there is always a lot of opportunities, but there is bigger productions coming. And that it's just getting bigger. It's crazy. It's so exciting. I don't really know what else to say other than that. It's just getting bigger.
The Gold Coast music scene is funny because it's almost one of the world's best kept secrets, but the talent on the Gold Coast is absolutely unbelievable. The festivals we have, I don't know, we still have the Bleach Festival. Maybe they don't. Do they still do that?
I'm pretty sure they still do.
Absolutely unreal. You know, Carlos Williams and Matty Rogers and just guys that are absolutely killing it, but they're still a really kept secret, really well kept secret. So, the talent on the Gold Coast is just amazing. Yeah.
I mean, because Brittany and I work in similar industries, it's kind of the same thing, but there are so many productions on the Gold, you know, and even me, someone who's been working in the industry for a while now, you know, things pop up every day. You know, there's a set down the road from my house. I couldn't even tell you what production it is. I literally drive past it every day, and I've been trying to figure out for about 2 weeks what the hell it might be, and I have no idea. I drive past, I'm like, all right, so I'm seeing some sort of structure there. Okay, and I keep driving. But, you know, that's the amazing thing is that, you know, there's so much demand for the Gold Coast for film for a host of reasons that I could go into, but I won't because it'll bore you. But there is so much demand for the Gold Coast that, you know, people are just taking whatever space they can get. I mean, you know, Chris Hemsworth was here at the start of the year filming Escape from Spiderhead here in this convention space, you know, and because that was the space available and they were like, yeah, we want to film on the Gold Coast, so we'll take it. You know, so people are just pushing their way in because they want Gold Coast talent. They want the Gold Coast filmmakers to be involved, and they want, you know, everything that we have access to. So it's a great time.
And I feel like as well I've heard is because in the Gold Coast you've got the beach, you've got 20 minutes and you've got rainforest. Like
that was part of the boring conversation. I could go into an entire lecture about the biodiversity of the Gold Coast and how great it is for filmmaking. I just feel that's another lecture. That's off at the back with just me in like 20 minutes.
It looks real good. Let's go with that.
It looks real good, yeah.
Well, we do have time for some questions. If anyone in the audience has a question for these guys. No? Well, you can catch up with them one-on-one if you want to at their respective booths. But thank you all so much for chatting today. It's been really interesting. And creative industries on the Gold Coast. Here for it, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.